Slowhands Rock Talk Show.
Through, but Suzi, thank you so much for making a little bit of time out of your day to come on to the podcast and speak to myself about all things music. Before we get started though, how are you actually doing?
I don't think I've ever been so busy in my life. I'm busy promoting my new novel, Grave Undertakings.
Yep.
I'm busy promoting the tour in April in the UK next year. I'm in the middle of making my next album. I'm just finishing off my third poetry book. Don't ask me. June, July, and August, I fly gig, not nonstop. And in October, I do my 41st tour of Australia.
But it's probably a good problem to have, being this busy.
Well, I've got a lot of energy, a lot of stamina, and it's the way God made me.
Yeah. Well, we're going to talk about your career, and there's so many different parts to it. I don't want to just kind of go back through the normal history because you've done lots of interviews over the years. So a lot of the normal questions have already been asked and answered by yourself. People can go online and they can do that. So
right.
Hopefully I'll ask some questions today that you've maybe never been asked before.
Whoa, okay, there's a challenge.
It's a bit interesting for yourself and for any of the listeners as well.
Okay.
But we'll start things easy. Going back to the very beginning for yourself, where originally are you from? Today's episode is sponsored by Drumport. Drumport are known as a distributor for high-quality musical instruments, including their innovative Stomp Tech product line. A must-have for all musicians looking to expand their sound whilst keeping full control of it. I have mine here. Make sure you check out Drumport at www.drumport.de and get your own today. Now back to the video.
I'm originally born and raised in Detroit.
Yep.
And I was there till I was 21, then I relocated to the UK. I'm Hungarian and obviously Italian by the name. So my mother was Hungarian, my father was Italian.
Yep.
Five kids, 4 girls, 1 boy.
Yeah, and I was looking it up. I know that your father was a musician.
Yes, he was a musician, and all 5 of us were raised, I would say, almost in a show busy environment. We all play minimum 3 instruments.
Yep.
Minimum. I read, write, and play percussion. I read, write, and play classical piano. Taught myself bass, play guitar. But it's nothing to brag because it's the way we were all brought up. Very, very musical household, yeah.
So I'm guessing you were obviously exposed to music from a young age, but what age were you when you discovered your own musical taste? So a lot of people that I speak to, they will be influenced by what their parents are originally listening to. And a lot of them get to the age of maybe 12 or 13 and they start to discover bands for themselves that's different from their parents. So what age were you when you discovered your own musical taste, and who were some of the bands you were discovering?
Some of the bands. Well, I mean, Elvis was my first one, but I was only 5.5. And that's the truth. I saw him on TV at 5.5.
Yep.
And all of us were in the room watching the Ed Sullivan Show. And that was a thing that every American family did on Sunday.
Yep.
And he came on at the end, and my elder sister by 9 years was screaming. And I didn't know why she was screaming because I was only 5.5. And I looked at the screen, and I went into the screen, and in my little 5.5-year-old brain, I said, I'm going to do that.
Yep.
But when you really start to discover your own, what means something to you for the rest of your life, it's in your teenage years.
Yep.
So I remember getting my first own transistor radio for Christmas, took it up to my bedroom, and so finally I'm on my own. I got my first radio and I put it on, and the first song that came on was Surfin' Safari by the Beach Boys, and I'll never forget that moment. I had my radio, and that was my music. I was only 12.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny that you say that, though, because I think nowadays that kind of reaction is lost because kids nowadays have access to everything from the minute they're born. And I almost feel sorry for them because they might not get that moment of discovering something they have never heard before.
No, that's what they've lost. They've lost discovery.
Yeah.
It's too much. It's too much. I feel sorry for them too. You know, when you turn on the radio, you go, oh my God, what's that? They've lost all that.
Yeah, it's strange. I was talking to someone yesterday about this on the podcast, and there is a flip side, though, that you can also discover music from all across the world that previously you would never, ever have been exposed to.
No, that's probably true for a lot of the people. It wasn't true of me because of my upbringing. I knew all my dad's catalog of stuff from his era.
Yeah.
I knew classical music. And then because of my eldest sister, 9 years older, then my brother, 7 years older, then my next sister, 3 years older, and the younger one, all the way down the line, you heard their music, you know? Yeah. So I was exposed to everything. I mean, Billie Holiday's one of my favorites.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tony Bennett, Frank Sinatra, you know? Yeah. I had them all in my DNA.
Do you remember, what was the first ever professional concert you attended? Who was it? Who did you go and see?
Oh, I know who it was. The concert, that would have been 1964. And I was in a band. We just started our band. It was the Beatles, and they played in Detroit. And my friend's dad got tickets, and I got really annoyed because you couldn't hear a thing. All you heard was screams. You didn't hear any music. But that was the first rock and roll concert I saw.
Yeah. I mean, to say the Beatles, I mean, I'm not a huge Beatles fan, but I believe that they were probably the ones that started everything. Know, responsible for a lot.
Yes, they were. They certainly started the British invasion, and boy, a lot of good music came out of that. Oh boy, we got bombarded. You know, that was right when I was starting my first band with my sister, so that was instrumental. In fact, Again, the Ed Sullivan Show. We were watching that when the Beatles appeared, and they did I Want to Hold Your Hand. And immediately when the show was finished, we got on the phones, and we called two friends of our sisters and another girl, and we decided after seeing the Beatles that we would have an all-girl band. So, and both come from the Ed Sullivan Show. Crazy. Yeah. And nobody wanted the bass. So I said, because I already played drums and piano, but everybody picked an instrument, and I kind of was quiet for some reason, very unlike me. And I said, what am I going to play? And my sister said, you're playing bass. I
was going to ask you, you could play all these different instruments, so why did you settle on the bass? But that's the reason.
That's the reason.
Were you singing before that, or did singing come afterwards?
That was all together, and that's another question I'm asked. In fact, I had a long talk with Paul McCartney about this, funny enough. People always say to me, how the hell do you sing lead and play bass? Yeah. Because they're very different things.
Different registers.
Very, very different things. And I think it's because when I started to learn the bass, I was starting to become the lead singer at the same time. So for me, I learned both things together. I'm playing and singing. So it's a very, very, very natural thing for me. There's only been maybe 2 or 3 songs in my whole career that I ever had to practice and sing lead to, because they were very off the wall bass lines, you know, but it just comes natural after doing it that way.
Here's a question then. Obviously you will have bass guitars. I play guitar, so I've got guitars that are 30 years old. Okay. Now, as long as you look after them, restring them, give them a little bit of a clean, they can sound as good as the day you picked them off the shelf in the music shop when you bought them.
Absolutely.
But your voice as an instrument is a whole different game, and your voice will naturally age over time as well. How do you think your singing voice is now compared to, for example, 30 years ago?
Well, I can go by the people who have been front of house for me for over 30 years.
Yeah.
And also by all the reviews. I'm getting the best reviews of my life. I'm doing my 2-hour shows now with an interval. And the last tour I just did of Australia, the guy came up to me who's mixed me forever.
Yep.
And he said, you are singing better than ever. So I touch wood when I say that, because I don't know why, but my voice is better than it was. And I don't know why that is. It's supposed to go downhill, but it has. I don't know why. I'm not going to question it. I'm just going to say thank you to the powers that be,
Yeah. I did ask someone this who's in the theatre world, the West End and that, and they had said that they didn't think, thankfully, their voice had changed much over the years. The difference was when they were younger, they could just simply walk out onto stage and belt out the songs, whereas now, when they're a wee bit older, they've got to look after their voice a little bit better and maybe warm up. Do you have the same routine as you did 30 years ago walking out on stage?
Well, when I did Annie Get Your Gun in the West End in 1986, that was the first time I realized that there was a vocal warm-up. Because they did it with the cast. And I went, wow, this is good stuff. So I made the guy make me a copy of a tape of the warm-up that we did. And since 1986, I don't do a show without a vocal warm-up. I don't do it. It's a real good one. And you learn through the years, you learn how to scream, and I scream a lot. You learn how to hit your notes properly. You learn. Because when you're younger, when I was 14, 15, 16, and just starting, and the gigs were normally 5 shows a night, 5 sets a night, 45 on, 15 off. Okay. I had moments when I lost my throat through misuse. And so you start to learn what not to do and what you can do. And I don't sing gentle. I sing heavy.
Yeah.
And everybody always describes my voice that way, powerful, So I know, I do the warm up. I make sure I have all the breathing techniques. And ever since my theater days, that taught me a good lesson.
That's good. Now, going back, The Pleasure Seekers, 1964, Never Thought You'd Leave Me was the first single that had came out. When you think back to those days, does it feel like a long time ago? Does it sometimes feel like yesterday?
It just seems like I've been in this business my whole life, which I have. No, it just seems like one ongoing dream, really, that I've never woken up from.
Yeah, well, I've got an interesting question then about that because you've been in the game for so long. You will have a very good perspective on this. So you started recording in 1964. And this is a question, again, I've asked quite a few people. You think of the bands that came out in the 60s. The Beatles, The Who, The Doors, Creedence Clearwater, Rolling Stones, all these great classic bands. The recording gear that you were using back then was so unbelievably primitive.
Yes, sure.
That it's remarkable that the music is still sounding so good today. I mean, there's no doubt the songs are great, but because the recording studio was so primitive, I feel like it forced the bands to be as creative as possible. Plus, they also had to know how to actually play and sing. Fast forward all these years, you go into a recording studio now, it's endless. The options you've got is limitless.
It is.
Is that a good or a bad thing, though?
Well, there's a certain charm to the old stuff before the new techniques came in. And it was called being in the room at the same time and playing. And maybe the drummer does a little click and you do a little thing on the bass. Magic. And when you have younger people listen to these old records, they hear that charm. Okay. Yeah. But I try to keep it as real as possible. So even if we all lay it down together, maybe you only keep the bass and the drums, but you lay it down together if you can. I'm just starting my new album. We laid down the bass and drums to our demo. We made a demo first. That demo went out to everybody. Everybody learns that part. I had to relearn mine, even though I played it. I couldn't believe what I did to myself. And we laid down the bass and the drums to the demos, and then the keys went on next. And now Richard's been doing his guitars, my son, while I've been gone. And then next I'll be doing the vocals, and then the BVs, which I'm always a part of too. So it is the way it's done now. Back in the old days, you didn't have a click track, which is wonderful in a way because you had that natural speed or slow down. It was natural. It was organic.
It's strange because I can see it from both sides. there's something nice about being able to make it perfect.
Yes.
But the reason those songs back then, if you recorded them now, they would sound, sonically, they would maybe sound better. They wouldn't be better though, because there's something missing, and it would be the fact that the human touch was missing from it.
The songs of days of old with the old way of recording are perfect in their imperfect. Are perfect because they're imperfect.
Yeah.
No. And that's perfect. It is. Yeah. It is.
And you're talking about recording there. When it comes to songwriting, does the music come first and the lyrics come last?
Every song is different, but I do kind of have a routine. I often think of a title first.
Oh, right, okay.
Or a line. One line, I go, oh, that's a good lyric. But the title suggests which instrument I should write the song on. Do I go on piano? Do I go on the guitar? I'm not a great guitar player. I didn't start on guitar and go to bass. I started on bass. I've even written a couple on the drums from a drum beat. Lyrics I take very seriously. I'm a wordsmith. Yeah. I'm a Gemini, so lyrics are our tools. Yeah. I've got 7 books out. 2 of them are poetry. So that's me. And a song changes shape too. A song will change shape as you're doing it.
And how will you present a song idea to the band?
Well, they're not involved in it's just me and my son write together, or I write by myself. Yeah. Or like the last album I did was with Katie Tunstall, we just did it together. So there was no presenting things. And in the old days, when I used to write with my ex-husband, we just wrote and said, here's a song. And everybody would put their bits in.
Yeah, it's almost like sometimes it's overthought too much. Like, just go and do it.
Just go do it. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And what about artwork? So for me, I feel artwork is still very important when it comes to the overall package, because I'm of a generation, probably the last generation, where when I was younger, you would go to the music shop to find an album to buy. You would flick through the albums, you would look, you might even find one with a cool cover that you've never heard of before. Yeah. You would buy it and hope that the music was good. The internet didn't come out until I was sort of 19 sort of age, so I'd already done my teen years. And I've asked a few people, and it's interesting that I'm not a right or a wrong answer. For me personally, I think that artwork is still important, because I like the overall package. I like the concept of an album. I like the structure. This song goes first, this song goes second. There's thought behind that.
Yes.
But at the same time, there's a whole generation now where it's singles that are maybe coming out. I've had people even wonder, why would you even need artwork? Which blows my mind, but that's just me personally. What's your thoughts on artwork for yourself? Just a very quick message to say thank you for watching. Remember to subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so that you don't miss any future videos, like and leave a comment. Let me know what you think of the episode and give me some suggestions on who I should interview in the future. Back to the video.
Artwork is extremely important because it's your representation visually of what you recorded. So I think it's very, very important. Also, the order that you put your songs in. It's the same thing as when you're going on stage. There's an order. There's a graph. There's an unseen graph. You have to have an instinct for it. I'm very good at putting an order together of songs. I'm very good at putting a set list together of songs.
Yeah.
All important. Packaging is very important. Just like it is for the artist. We have to be packaged. Yes.
Yeah. And see, thinking back on your entire career, what was your big break moment that had it not happened, we might not be talking today?
I guess it was Mickey Mouse coming to Detroit. I was in a band the first band was called the Pleasure Seekers. That morphed into Cradle, called Cradle, at which point my younger sister came in to sing. So I was, instead of being the complete front person, I went back a bit and mainly played the bass. I only did a few songs. Yeah. This is the band Mickey saw me in, and he picked me out immediately. So he offered me a solo contract, come to England. And it was the second offer I'd had in 1 week That's the universe shouting. You better be listening. Second offer in 1 week from another company to go solo. So that was Elektra Records. And they wanted to turn me into the next Janis Joplin. And Mickey Most came that same week, saw me and said, I'll take you to England and turn you into the first Suzi Quatro. So I went with the guy who saw me. He saw me. He didn't know what I was, but he wasn't sure what I was. He just knew I was. He kept telling me this my whole life. Bless him. I was unique. That's all he kept saying. You're unique. You're unique. You're unique.
and it's a good way to be.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. But obviously thinking about fame as well, who was the first person that you met that you were starstruck by?
I'm not sure if I'm a starstruck person. I don't think I ever have been. I always think of people as colleagues. I had the chance to meet Elvis. I turned him down. He wanted me to go to Graceland, 1974.
Do you regret that now?
No, because I come from the school that everything happens for a reason. And he has spiritually been here my entire career, since 5.5. Yeah. I've got like 11 Elvis epiphanies. And none of them would have happened had I met him.
Yeah, that's cool. I know that you've obviously done a bit of acting.
Yep.
As well. How did you get into that?
I always knew I could act. That called me quite heavily at the beginning. You know, I knew I could. I also knew I could have gone into comedy because I could be very funny. I was on tour in Tokyo, in Japan.
Yep.
And they called me and asked me to fly to Los Angeles and audition for this big show called Happy Days, which I did.
Yep. And
I got the part, and that turned into 3 seasons, which is great. Yep. And in fact, I went and read for the part, flew from Tokyo to LA, met the director, met the fans, met everybody, da-da-da-da-da. And they said I read, and they said, go back to your hotel room, and we're gonna discuss you, and we'll call you.
Yeah.
So I turned on the TV, sat on the desk, ready to pick up the phone. TV's on in the background, picked up the phone. They said, we don't just want you for this 2-parter thing, we want you for 3 seasons. So I said, hallelujah. And at that moment, that exact moment, on the TV came, newsflash, the king is dead.
Right, okay.
That's one of them. You can't make this stuff up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've always had quite a lot of different people from all across the world on this podcast. You're the only person that has met the Fonz. That must be pretty cool.
We are very much in contact. He gave me a quote from my autobiography. He gave me a quote from my poetry book. I'm very much in touch with Ron Howard. We email all the time, and Donnie Most and Anson Williams. So we formed a nice friendship on that show.
Was it as fun as it looked?
It was great. It was great. I remember talking to Ronnie once, and I said, I have a couple questions to ask you. I said, first of all, did I ever feel like a new actress to you? Green, and he said, no. He said, in fact, don't ever take acting lessons because what you have is natural. Yep. Big compliment. And then I said, okay, did I feel like I was new to the show? And he said, no. We all talked about it. It was as if you were there from the beginning. So it was supposed to happen. Yeah.
And what about, you've obviously mentioned previously there, being an author. How did you get in? What made you decide to do the first book?
To do the what?
The first book, being an author. Releasing books.
Books?
Yeah. Writing a book.
Oh, it's your accent. Book. Okay. Book. Okay. I got asked to do my autobiography. I did that first unzipped. That did really well. Came out in 2006. Then I wanted to write a novel because my friend, Jackie Collins, who's up there now, she said, you really write well, you should write a novel. So I wrote a novel called The Hurricane. Yeah. And I based it on a lady in the music business because she said, for your first novel, write about what you know. So I did. Then I did my first poetry book, but I've been doing poetry my whole life, called Through My Eyes.
Yep.
Then I did my second poetry book called Through My Heart.
Yep.
Then I did Through My Thoughts, These are all coffee table illustrated book. Through My Thoughts, which was COVID inspired.
Right, okay.
Then I did Through My Words, which is my lyric book. Again,
Yep.
coffee table. Then I just put this one out, Grave Undertakings. Yep.
Yep.
And this that's a story. And I'm just now finishing up my third poetry book, which will be the trilogy, Through My Eyes, Through My Heart, Through My Pain. But this is the one I'm promoting right now. This is a novel, my second novel. Yeah.
Yeah. And how long did it take you to write that one?
It took me 35 years collecting tombstone quotes from all my famous friends.
Yep.
And then when I started to put it together, I realized it was a novel. And I had to write a story. Why are these tombstones at the end? Which they are now. They were going to be the book. They're now at the end. So I invented Grave Undertakings. What a great title.
Yep.
And I've always been fascinated by graveyards. I'm one of those that likes to walk around and read all the tombs. I love it.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people do. So I thought, how can I tell this story? And I'm very psychologically minded. I could have actually done that as a career. I could have been a psychiatrist. Very into it. So I thought, okay, 6 psychology students meet up at a tutorial with an Austrian professor, and we take them through their life. With the ups, the downs, the baggage, the damage, the triggers, the entanglements with each other. And then you go through their lives, and at the end, the tombstones make sense. I don't want to tell you anything more than that, but it all makes sense. That's the payoff at the end.
And you briefly mentioned there COVID. Now, you're obviously extremely busy. How was COVID just for yourself with regard to, it was a big adjustment for a lot of people, especially people that are busy, that all of a sudden you're at home with a lot of downtime. But I'm assuming if you're writing, if you're a musician, you've got a lot of time to focus your energy on those passions.
You can. I had to rehearse like at least three times a week to the full show in my front room. I mean, not rehearsing, you're going for it with the live scene, running around the room. So I kept my chops up. We made 2 albums during that, wrote and recorded 2 albums and released them, made videos in my garage, what we were allowed to do. There was only 1 gig in 220 and 1 gig in 221. I released 3 books during COVID, 2 albums. And in fact, in 221, I did the 1 gig was in Denmark because they had relaxed their COVID rules.
Right.
So I did 1 gig in September of 2021, and my next gig was April 2022 at the Royal Albert Hall. Excuse me.
I know.
Excuse me. You better believe I rehearsed.
Yeah. Definitely.
Oh, yeah. And when I wasn't doing the show, I was in the gym. And I have big grounds here. I've got 3.5 acres. I was okay.
Yeah.
I was okay. Main thing was I couldn't see my husband because he lives in Germany. And of course, they closed all the borders. He couldn't even drive there because nobody could be in the car with him. No hotels were open. So we had like 5 months on Skype, So that was not nice. That wasn't nice.
Yeah. So we've got writing and recording music. We've got performing live on stage, your music. We've got acting. And we've got writing books. If you had to pick just one of those to do, which one would you pick?
I think entertaining, is what I was born to do. And I remember standing, I have to go back. I used to do family shows and everything as I was growing up because it's a musical family. So every get together, every one of us kids would get up and do something. I play the piano, I tell a joke, I do a dance, I do whatever. And I noticed at approximately the age of 8 that when I got up to do my bit, my party piece, whatever it might be that particular day, that the whole room stopped. And they watched me. Really watched me. So I realized I had something that holds an audience. I couldn't have articulated it as such, but I got it. So, that I kept honing it. And then I remember being on stage and doing that first gig, 14 years old, bass on, looking down at the audience. And what ran through my head was, I'm home.
Yeah. It just felt comfortable.
Yeah. It's where I belong.
Yeah. So we're halfway through 2025. Just give us a rundown of what is the plans for the remainder of the year.
I've got the big tour coming up in April. 10 big shows. The tickets are going amazing. They were announced about two weeks ago. Going all over the UK. I got them right here. I'll read them for you quickly. I'm in Glasgow, Gateshead, Manchester, Watford, Oxford, Southend, the London Palladium, Bath, Birmingham, and Bournemouth. So a lot of big gigs. I'm finishing off my album right now that hopefully will be out for Christmas. Hopefully finishing off my third poetry book, and working on promoting this one, which they're talking about making into a movie.
Wow, that'd be cool.
Yeah, it would be. Oh, yeah. Because when you read this book, I'm sure you'll get it. It makes you think.
Yeah, it sounds, I can't think of anything else out there that's similar, which is really cool.
No, I came up with a good idea.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So before we finish up, Suzi, I like to ask some fun questions.
Okay.
I'll ask the questions. You just tell me what pops into your head.
Okay.
So imagine you could go back in time, anywhere in the world, big concert, small concert, I'll let you decide. What is the one concert that you wish that you could have attended?
I wished I could have attended any one of Elvis's. But back in the 50s.
Yeah.
I would have liked to have seen him like on the Grand Ole Opry when he was just uncontrollable. Just, those early days, I'd like to have seen one of those before he got famous.
Right, okay. Similar question. If you could go back in time to one of your own gigs as a spectator, what gig do you think you would like to watch yourself?
I'd have to pick two. I recently did the Wacken Festival, which is just outside of Hamburg. It is the biggest outdoor metal festival in the world, 85,000 people.
Yep.
And when I looked out at that audience and saw the hands up in the air from as far as I could see, and then recently there was one in Hamburg, sold out, big place. And in 61 years, this didn't happen to me. Similar, but not like this.
Yep.
The band go out, and then you walk out. Of course, you're going to get cheers. You walk out, there's going to be cheers. But this time, I went to go to the mic to start the song, and they went louder, louder, louder. I could not start that song because I would have insulted them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have cut them off. So I just had to wait till they were done. It was what a feeling. I just threw my arms up to the heavens and went, wow.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
That sounds pretty cool. Yeah. Does the perfect album start to finish exist? And if so, what is the album?
Boy, oh boy, that's hard. The first one was pretty classic. You're talking about my own stuff?
No, for someone else.
Oh, okay, I got that. That's easy. Blonde on Blonde, Bob Dylan.
All right, cool. What's your favourite album cover by another artist?
Favorite album cover? You know which one I like? That Fleetwood Mac one, Rumors.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I like that.
Well, as you know, there's thousands and thousands of great songs being written and recorded over the years by different artists. What's the one song you wish you could have sat in the recording studio to witness the band record it?
I'm trying to think which one I would have liked to have been at. It's just a crazy one. I would have liked to have been there when Dion did Run Around Sue.
Cool. And last question for yourself, Mount Rushmore. I know the answer could change each day, but for today, who is the 4 bands or musicians for yourself that you see as perfection?
Musicians?
Bands or musicians, I'll let you decide.
Well, perfection voice-wise is Barbra Streisand.
Right, okay.
Pure voice, perfect. Guitar, my son will kill me. I love B.B. King.
Yep.
And I love Carlos Santana. And I love Jeff Beck. So those 3. bass player, Carol Kay and Jameson from Motown. Classical composer, my favorite by all time, and I play him all the time, is Beethoven.
Yep.
God, who else? Favorite, I can't think of anything else that you might need.
Drummer? Probably John Bonham. Excellent. Suzi, thank you so much for coming on, answering my questions. For anyone that's watching, if they haven't done so already, they can give you a follow on social media, subscribe to your channel, obviously go on to check for tour dates, for merchandise. I want them to go and check the book that's came out, your most recent book that's came out. Go to the bookshop, buy the book, read it. Hopefully it gets turned into a movie and then they can go and see it at the movies as well.
Absolutely.
But I wish you all the continued success, and thank you much for making a little bit of time out of your day to come on and speak to myself.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.